Well, everyone, it's time for us to go ahead and compare the iPhone 11 against the iPhone XS Max and see how these iPhones hold up in 2023. Now, funny enough, this is actually one of the most viewed comparisons I've ever done back in 2019, I believe. It's very interesting that people still want to see these two phones compared. So, links will be down in the description if you want to pick up these phones or some other ones I would recommend this year. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these phones, you can kind of see there are some, differences, but there's also some similarities for sure. The iPhone XS Max came out in 2018, and it was the flagship of that moment. It was the most expensive iPhone Apple had made at that moment. I think it was the most expensive iPhone Apple made, period, at that moment as well. So you had a 6.5-inch Super Retina OLED display on the front, very, very good panel, and even now it's still pretty good. Looking at it in person, it still is a pretty sharp panel. The latest iPhones definitely have the best ones, but this one is still very good. You had the Face ID on the front, a little bit of bezel around it, but it's not that bad at all. You can barely even tell. And it's a very good, sharp looking display for sure. On the iPhone 11, you had a smaller 6.1-inch super, just a Retina IPS panel. So it's an IPS screen. It's definitely not as good as in the OLED display that we have in the iPhone XS Max, but it's still overall a pretty good looking phone. I don't think it was ugly. And you did have a thicker amount of bezel around this phone. Face ID kind of looks like it protruded a little bit further down, but I still think it's an okay looking phone for sure. The screen is definitely not the best aspect about it, but there definitely are some other areas of the iPhone 11 that I do like more than the iPhone XS Max. Now, in terms of the rest of the body, you can kind of tell that in terms of the side right here, the iPhone 11 and the XS Max kind of seem the same thickness. I don't really think there's like a big massive difference between these two, if I'm being honest. They both look kind of like the same thing for the most part. They both have the volume buttons and everything, ringer switch right there. They both have lightning ports at the bottom too, which is really cool with the speaker grills. And on the back, we have the same standard glass backs on both. Now, I actually do have a skin on the back of my XS Max, but you can kind of see that the iPhone XS Max here does have that dual camera setup, and so does the iPhone 11. Now, they both have wireless charging on the back, they both have IP certification, and overall, they both feel and look very, very good and just overall really good bodies. With these types of phones, I think they both look very good. There's, again, not too much to complain about for the most part. So when I have both these types of phones, I think they both feel very good. I think they both feel very premium. The XS Max, is a year older than the iPhone 11, but it doesn't really feel like it's an old iPhone. Neither of these iPhones feel very old. So in terms of that, that kind of covers it up. Now, in terms of the software and the longevity portion, this is the other area which is not necessarily confusing, but it's one of those things to keep in mind. With the iPhone XS Max, this is a phone that has pretty much been around for almost 5 years now, and with the XS Max you are approaching that 5-year mark. I think this phone is still going to be supported for the next few years, but the iPhone 11 is probably going to last longer than the iPhone XS Max. That's probably a given here. I mean, with the iPhone 11, this phone has been supported for a few years, but I do think it's going to definitely not last as long as the iPhone XS Max. So that is one of the things that you kind of have to keep in mind at the end of the day. Again, I don't think it's like a deal breaker or anything, but whenever I've used these types of phones, you always want the one that's going to last longer. So if you want the longer lasting one, the iPhone 11 is probably the one that's going to last the longest out of these two. So in terms of that, that kind of covers it up there as well. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 11 has that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone XS Max has that Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM as well. So let's go and see which one's the fastest one between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background. Let me go and increase the size here, or increase the brightness, and we are good to go. Let's go and open up these apps. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. Okay, about the same thing. Music, which I don't have here. Let's go and get into their Safari browser. 3, 2, 1. And I guess this one loaded it up first. I mean, I guess we were on two different panels here. Let's go and hop out of this one. Let's go and get into settings. 3, 2, 1. iPhone 11 faster. App Store. 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone 11 is faster again. The iPhone XS Max definitely taking its time. Not a crazy big deal, but again, just kind of showcasing what's going on. Scrolling through, both seem fairly smooth. You can kind of see that the iPhone XS Max just want to take a little bit more time to load. I don't know if it's because it's connected to the slower Wi-Fi. They should both be connected to the 5G variant, so it's weird that's happening. I feel like the XS Max is still a very smooth phone, but for some reason the iPhone 11 was loading things up faster than the iPhone XS Max there. Let's go and get into their cameras. 3, 2, 1. Let's go and take a photo. Okay, kind of the same thing. Let's go and take photos. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go and hop out of this one. Let's go and hop out of here. Let's go and get into clock. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go and hop out of here. Mail. 3, 2, 1. Okay, and let's go up some of these third-party applications that I have on both. So I have lots of pages. Let's go get into this one, Twitter 321. Okay, don't know why I didn't open up on the iPhone 11. Let's go out of here. Let's go get into Facebook 321. I might be logged in here, so keep that in mind, and I am. So this one, I don't know why this one's taking so long to load. I mean, it usually doesn't take this long, so this is probably a bad example of it. Let's go into a game finally. Snake vs. Blocks 321. Okay, let's go and get into this game here. Let's see if one is way slower or faster than the other one. And so far so good. Let's go and about both of these. Let's go get into Netflix 321. I don't know why the iPhone 11 doesn't want to click open the app when I go and click on it. Let's go up here. Let's do Temple Run 3, 2, 1. Potentially the iPhone 11 is probably going to be faster here because it was the first one to load up just by like a split second. And you can see the iPhone 11 was slightly faster in that example as well. Let's go out of here. Let's do Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And to get into a pop-up here, of course, it's always going to happen. I still think the iPhone 11 probably would have been faster, but overall, what I'll definitely tell you is both these phones are very good. I don't really think there's too much to complain about in that standpoint. I do think there were random glitches that kind of happened. I think I clicked on many apps on the iPhone 11 that didn't load, and the iPhone XS Max, took a long time to load some random applications like the App Store, which probably shouldn't have taken that long. But regardless, I think both these phones are fast, and whichever one you're going to get, I think it's going to be a very small speed difference. But the iPhone 11 should be probably the faster one when it comes down to it. Now, in the camera department, like I said before, dual camera setups on both, but they are very different camera setups. So with the iPhone 11 wide and ultra wide camera, iPhone XS Max wide and telephoto lens, you can zoom in more on the iPhone XS Max, but you can zoom out more on the iPhone 11. Both can do 4K 60 on the back. The iPhone XS Max can do 1080p at 60 on the front. The iPhone 11 can do 4K at 60 on the front, giving it more resolutions it can film at. Now, with something like the iPhone XS Max, what's great is that this is still a pretty good camera. I've talked about this camera already twice today, in another video, and I think this is a pretty solid camera when it comes down to it. The only thing it's missing is that ultra-wide camera. I wish that ultra-wide camera was there. I think that would have been really cool. But regardless, you do have a phone that's fairly good and fairly strong. You have portrait mode here. You have the standard photo mode, video mode, which is great. So there's not really like a crazy amount to kind of complain about, but I think this is a pretty solid camera, and I still think it's still holds up fairly well in the camera department. With the iPhone 11, this is definitely, I think, a better camera for sure. You're getting a newer camera system, but you're also getting more resolution, at least on the front, that you can film in. I also, actually, I have to say this, I do prefer the ultra-wide camera a lot more over a telephoto lens, so having the ability of having that 0.5x zoom is really, really nice, and in this day and age, I think that's even more important than probably the other things that we have now. So you have, photo mode, video mode, time lapse. You also have portrait mode here as well, which is really nice. And overall, I definitely do think the iPhone 11 camera, if I had to choose one, it'd probably be the iPhone 11 camera over the iPhone, XS Max. But also, if it came down to both these phones and the kind of sum of this comparison, I genuinely don't know which one I would choose. I think I would choose the iPhone 11 because it's newer. It has, I think a faster performing chipset, and also it's like a very good phone overall. But the iPhone XS Max is more of a flagship. You're getting that OLED display. You're getting, I would argue, better build quality. It feels like a way more premium phone. And the only thing you're lacking here, I think the iPhone 11 has better battery life, better performance, longer lasting phone, better camera. But I think the iPhone XS Max has better build quality, better display. That's kind of it, to be honest, but it's still a very good phone here too. I would probably pick up the iPhone 11 over the XS Max, but I think both these phones are pretty solid still for the next year or two. So kind of covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.